quarterbacks in Dallas Cowboys history. He's also one of the most polarizing quarterbacks in Dallas Cowboys history. There's no doubt, though, he was one of the most electrifying players in the history of the organization. He's as notable for being the Cowboys' all-time leading passer as he is for his 2 playoff wins. But we're not here to discuss the legacy of Tony Romo. We're here to take a look at the top 5 plays in the career of Tony Romo and Eli Face. We're here for that too. Number 5 on this list is an unbelievable play from an unbelievable game. Romo and the Cowboys lost to the Broncos Week 5 of 2013, 51-48. Romo, though, was incredible. 25 of 36, 506 yards and 5 touchdowns, and this remarkable play.
Time, rolls to his right, nowhere to go, and he peels away from pressure, keeps his feet, throws on the run, and finds Witten coming across the...
Number 4 is from January 5th, 2015, Wild Card Weekend. One of Romo's 2 playoff victories. The Cowboys were NFC East champs in 2014 and get a home wild card game against Detroit. Is Romo clutch? How about 3rd and goal, down 3 with under 3 minutes to play?
3rd down and goal. Romo protected. End zone. Touchdown.
Number 3 is the most memorable individual play by Tony Romo. In 2014, J.J. Watt won his 2nd Defensive Player of the Year award. He also had 20.5 sacks in the season.
Different salary structure. Romo, spin, throw, end zone, caught! Terrence Williams, touchdown Cowboys! Tony Romo!
Number 2 has basically everything. Week 2, September 18th, 2011, the 49ers only lost 3 games all season, including this one. Romo left the game for most of the 3rd quarter, but returned to the 4th, down 24-14, with a fractured rib and a punctured lung.
Romo's going to play fake and stand back. Oh, he's got Holly all alone at the 50. Holly to the 40. Holly to the 20. Right to the 15. 10. Dragged down at the 2 as he showed off the ball. Oh, Jesse Holly went 77 yards. It must be a reality show.
Number 1 is the perfect metaphor for Romo's entire career. We'd later find out that Tony Romo played through this 2013 Week 16 de facto playoff game with a herniated disc in his back. It was announced after the game that Romo would miss the rest of the season. He limped around the field the entire second half, but still led the Cowboys back from a 9-point 4th quarter deficit. Romo went 10 of 13 for 140 yards in the 4th quarter. Remember, the Cowboys would have been eliminated from playoff contention with a loss.
4th and goal. Time for Romo. Steps up, throws with Ari. He's in! Touchdown!
Tony Romo is one of the greatest quarterbacks in Dallas Cowboys history. He's also one of the most polarizing quarterbacks in Dallas Cowboys history. There's no doubt, though, he was one of the most electrifying players in the history of the organization. He's as notable for being the Cowboys' all-time leading passer as he is for his 2 playoff wins. But we're not here to discuss the legacy of Tony Romo. We're here to take a look at the top 5 plays in the career of Tony Romo and Eli Face. We're here for that too. Number 5 on this list is an unbelievable play from an unbelievable game. Romo and the Cowboys lost to the Broncos Week 5 of 2013, 51-48. Romo, though, was incredible. 25 of 36, 506 yards and 5 touchdowns, and this...
All right, let's get this thing rolling. We already went to it and saw it once through, so it's time to get this thing rolling. I'm Ari Temkin. This is Showtime right here on Phantom, putting you at the center of the Dallas sports discussion. Thank you all for being a part of this show today. Thank you for being a part of every day's show. If you're new, hi, Ari, nice to meet you. Why don't you come on back every single day at 12 o'clock Central, where we talk Cowboys every day. Dallas sports, because that's what Phantom is doing, putting you at the center of the Dallas sports discussion. We are broadcasting through multiple pages and platforms at this exact moment. Quickest way to have your comments heard is by going to facebook.com/watch Phantom. You can see it right there. There you go. So I will try to get through all the different pages and platforms that we're broadcasting across. But the quickest way to get in touch with us is by facebook.com/watch Phantom. So yesterday I asked everybody for their top 5 Tony Romo moments. It led to a long discussion about Romo. But if you were able to just see it right now, give me feeling on how you felt about how I laid out that top 5. I will do another top 5 probably next week on Troy Aikman. So stay tuned for that. Patrick Kahn in the house. What's up? Everybody, if you have not yet already, I'm doing a podcast every single week with the great Patrick Kahn, Draft Cowboys. So go make sure you can either check out his page or my page. We both posted it. Check out the Cowboys Beat with myself and Patrick Kahn. So here's the deal. Every Thursday I go to Cowboys practice, which starts at about 1:30. Well, Cowboys practice is on during the show every day, but I go when their locker room is open, which is about 1:30 Central. So the show ends at 1. I get out, I leave, I go to the Cowboys facility at 1:30. So every week it's at 1:30, except for this week. And after the show yesterday, I went out. I didn't check my email because I'm stupid. And so I drove out to the facility. It's about 20 minutes away, the Star in Frisco for me. And I got there, and I saw all these media members leaving. And I was like, oh, no. Is this like a bye week thing? And it turns out, yeah, the locker room was open at 11:30. So I only missed it by 2 hours. So I was not able to get a player interview for the podcast this week, but we'll have those again soon. Hit the share button if you have not already. Please do so. And again, this is an interactive show. This is your show. So whether this is your first time or you come here every single day, Curtis Starks, Dakota Stiegel, Neil Falver, Greg Zuniga, Patrick Kahn, G. Garcia, Joe Tranchina. These are guys, Eric Kashani. These are guys that are here every single day. Cody Arnold, and I appreciate them and everybody who's a part of the show each and every day. Kevin Vickery in the house. What's up, Kevin Vickery, on the Dallas Cowboys Really Real fan page, tweeting the laughing emoji, meaning quarterback. So that's the first thing that I want to discuss today as we head into the bye week. No game to preview today. Normally, that's obviously what we do on a Friday. So the Cowboys have seemingly fixed the issue at wide receiver. So the question is, what do they fix now? What's next to be fixed? If you could, put a magic wand over the Cowboys and fix the next thing, what would it be? Give me a thumbs up emoji if it's change the play caller, which at this point would be Jason Garrett taking over the play calling. Would it be changes to the offensive line? Would it be moving Lyle Collins to guard and Connor Williams outside to right tackle? Or would it be quarterback? Now, obviously, that's not really that's not something you fix this year. Kind of some of these other things I'm talking about are fixing in the season. But this is also kind of looking ahead as well. What would be the next thing you would fix if you could fix something? So make sure to post your comments. Antonio Rubin says quarterback. Gerard Tauber says center. Steve Eason says tight end. Johnny Aguilar says, what's up, Ari Temkin? Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you, Johnny. Bill Welch says the O-line is fine. Quarterback is not. Ray Parra says O-line. Curtis Stark says tight end and the declining offensive line. Keith Price says backup quarterback. Eric Kashani says offensive line. A lot of people seem to think offensive line. What I think is interesting is, and I brought this up before, but my hierarchy of things that needed to be fixed or issues with the Cowboys offense went play calling, coaching, receivers, quarterback, and fourth was offensive line. And so I've often, kind of diminished the importance that the offense or the role the offensive line has played in how bad this team has been on offense. And I think what's interesting is they're going to have major question marks this offseason with this offensive line. And they're going to have sort of uncomfortable conversations with this offensive line after the season because a lot of the issues with this offensive line are about their left tackle. So, what do you do if you're the Cowboys and you've got this unbelievable all-pro left tackle who has a bad back and took a major step back this season? This is easily his worst season as a pro. Still not a below average left tackle, but the thing with Tyron is he used to have trouble at times with speed edge rushers. At times. But, for the most part, throughout the course of his career, you can count on one hand how many pressures he'd give up or how many sacks he'd give up or how many penalties he would have. And now you're using multiple hands in order to count all of the miscues that he's had at left tackle. And I don't know if it's fixable is the issue. So, I personally don't think they should do the musical chairs between Lyle Collins and Connor Williams. I don't. They might have issues with or they might have issues with Lyle Collins. I think Connor Williams has been good on the whole. He just had, he had a bad game against Washington. Probably his worst game as a pro against Washington, and that stood out a lot. I think people use that to be like, well, he's had a bad year. He hasn't had a bad year, Connor Williams. So obviously he's a second-round draft pick. To me, I'd just keep him where he is, and I would do the same with Lyle Collins. And either, they've just got to look at what they can do at tackle next year. Honestly, because I think, especially if Travis Frederick comes back healthy and fine next year, which I think he will, their biggest concern moving forward would be, the interior of their offensive line is set then. It's just the left tackle and right tackle situation that's a bit concerning at that point. I'm Ari Temkin from 105.3 The Fan. I am hosting the pre- and post-game show for the Dallas Cowboys on 105.3 The Fan and the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. You can also catch me, as I mentioned, streaming live every single day right here on Phantom. Phantom is putting you at the center of the Dallas sports discussion. Patrick Kahn says Paul Alexander changed their technique. And by the way, did that actually happen? I know I've heard rumors of that, but it just doesn't make any sense to me that he would come in here as a new coach and change technique considering, what was working before. Did he actually do that, or is that just this offensive line has regressed, so we're going to go ahead and say that it was because the technique changed? I'm honestly asking that. That's what Tyler Cutright said. Is the offensive line regressing due to a new coaching style? The thing is, though, with Tyron, Lyle Collins is the one where it's ooh, how about this new technique? Maybe it's hurting Lyle Collins. Tyron Smith, I said all year, all offseason, he's got a bad back. Those don't get better. Now, he worked out throughout the offseason doing yoga and different things, but I think that hurt him in a sense. So, I don't know that I'm going to chalk up Tyron Smith's issues this year to technique. Now, perhaps it could be, but it certainly just fits. He's an old 27, and that's the reality of it. When he got started in the NFL, he was the youngest player in the NFL. And he has a bad back, and those don't get better. And then when it comes to Connor Williams, I think he's been okay. I think he's been good most of the year. He had a bad game against Washington. He's had some plays that have stood out as being bad individual plays, but for the most part, I think majority of snaps he's held up pretty strong. Patrick Kahn says it's changed how they use their hands, which seems important. Carol Christensen says, hey again. Hey, Carol, how are you? Chris Bennett says, how can wide receiver be fixed if Dak sucks? Patrick Kahn says it's hurting Collins more than Tyron. And that's the one guy on their line where I see it, where it looks like he's the one guy where he looks lost. And there's no explaining. He's been the worst offensive lineman for them this year, Lyle Collins has. And it's kind of inexplicable because he had a bad start to the year last year, but finished up really, really strong. So there's no reason to expect that he would have a bad year this year. On the Dallas Cowboys report page, shout out to the folks watching across the Dallas Cowboys report. Kelly Sands says, fire Garrett, ... All right, perhaps. Dahlia and Mike Martinez, the laughing emoji, meaning they should change the quarterback. And then Carl Campos says, when you lose the heart and soul of your offensive line, you're going to have a regression. That too. That also cannot be overlooked. And I think, to sort of the opposition of Paul Alexander has sabotaged their offensive line, Joe Looney's played very, very well. But it's the things that Joe Looney can't do that Travis Frederick does that they're missing. And that's, it's stuff we've talked about all year, but the communication, just the knowledge base that he has, being easily the best center in football for the last 4 or 5 years. Basically, every year he's been in the league. He's either been first team All-Pro or second team All-Pro every year he's been in the league. He's only been first team once, but every other year where he's second team, the first team guy changes. So, he's the best center in football. Ian Goldberg in the house, he says, what's up, Ari? Alexander used a zone run blocking scheme while we've used the power run blocking scheme in Dallas with Pollock. Chris Bennett with the laughing emoji changed the quarterback. And that's, I'll go back to why I didn't exactly like the Amari Cooper trade at the start, because if I were running the Cowboys, I probably would have taken a look at drafting a quarterback in the first round. And that's because I would rather go into the final year of Dak's rookie contract with another option behind him as a first-round draft pick. Now, I know a lot of people have said, well, they're not in love with, a lot of people aren't in love with the quarterback class. It's a down class. I think it's too early to tell, to be honest with you. I just think you're 9 weeks into the college football season, or 8 weeks into the college football season, and you already know. I don't know. I mean, and ultimately what I'm saying is I like the Amari Cooper trade because if the Cowboys weren't going to take a quarterback with their first round pick, then it's the right move. But I would have taken a quarterback with my first round pick. But it looks like they're not going to do that. So, I mean, if that's the case, then I'm fine with them trading away that pick to get a guy that has the talent like Amari Cooper. Rob Grimes and Kyle Boonzall say Romo for head coach. Anybody think Romo should be the next head coach of the Cowboys? Yeah, he should go from never coaching in his life to being the head coach. That seems like a smart move. And then I'd have endless comments from people saying, fire Romo, ... So, no, I'm just going to simply say no to Romo as the head coach. And people who watch the show every day would know, of course, why I'm saying that. But nice to have you, Rob Grimes and Kyle Boonzall. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it. And no for Romo. Can Dak Osweiler get Cooper the ball? Osweiler's probably better. No? I'm just kidding. Laz Flores in the house. What up, Laz Flores? How are you, brother? Larry Mannix watching. What's up, Larry Mannix? Joe Tranchina, please stop with Romo being coach. Honestly, Joe, I just mentioned those comments because it's kind of funny to me at this point. Like, it's become a meme by itself. It's a show meme. We have a Showtime meme, and that is Romo as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, or the offensive coordinator, for that matter. That's our show meme there. Patrick Prescott says 2020 might be a better quarterback class. Ari with married to Dak for a bit, but that's the plan, I guess. But I mean, they won't be bad enough to get Tua Tagovailoa or Justin Herbert. And I still think Herbert comes after this year, by the way. But I mean, we'll see. And look, again, if I would have taken a quarterback with my first round pick in 2019, if the Cowboys weren't going to do that, then trade it for Amari Cooper. That's fine. I'm fine with that. But then they have to take one in 2020 in the first round, and then what you're left to do is, do you then franchise Dak for a year? Do you stick the franchise tag on him? Because, or would you just let him walk and then give a first year rookie quarterback the nod to be the starter? That's why I would have done it in 19. But if they didn't like the quarterback class is no good, then fine, trade it for Cooper, and then figure out what you're going to do with Dak Prescott's contract after his contract is up, and then draft a number one. On our YouTube page, Joe Lucas in the house, Stevie Mack in the house. Steve Mack says, sup, Ari? You just know Scott Linehan was asking Amari for Raiders playbook the second he walked through the door. That would not be a good move. As bad as Linehan's offense has been, the Raiders have one win. Joe Lucas says, wish Romo could have had a last chance when he got healthy. What do you think booted him out? Why do you think they booted him out? Because they had the offensive rookie of the year. They went 13-3. Probably wasn't the right move. That's for sure. Joe Lucas wants the Cowboys to put Cameron Fleming at right tackle. See, I think that's a drastic move. I mean, I'd still stick. I mean, I wouldn't move Cooper. I wouldn't move Connor. I get these stupid C names mixed up. Sorry if your name's Cooper or Connor. I wouldn't move Connor Williams. Now what's that? What? I'm tired. What's his name? What's the rookie from Texas? What's his name? I wouldn't move him from guard. I would keep him there because you're developing him, and I just don't see much upside to moving him at this point. The biggest issues with their offensive line have been their tackles, and I would hope that if Cameron Fleming were a better option at either tackle spot, they would have done that by now. Stevie Mack says also there's tons of people complaining about the center position. Joe Looney has been playing pretty damn well for being thrown in there last minute. Yes, he's not Travis, but no, and that's the problem here is he's been best case scenario. The issue is it's still not as good as Travis Frederick because there's things that Frederick can do that Looney can't do, and that goes back to conversations I've had with former All-Pro offensive linemen at the beginning of the season, which is like there's a level of communication that Travis Frederick and you blow on Romo, his back goes out. Oh, yeah. Okay, I thought he meant like you blow on Romo. Second statement. His back went out. But now I got it. If you blew too hard on him, his back would go out. Shout out Jared Towler for that comment. Agreed. I mean, but look, there's no telling if he would have been able to. My buddy Jeremy would get mad at me when I would say that he was going through a 1-to-1 hit to injury ratio at that point in his career. He said there's no stable evidence to suggest that, so I'll give Romo the benefit of the doubt that he could have come back healthy and potentially stayed healthy. I don't know that we saw that. He was injured all the time throughout the course of the end of his career, but I digress. So Collins back to guard is what you want, or do you want me to replace Smith? I wouldn't do anything to change the offensive line at this point. I wouldn't. This is your best. I think what they have right now is your best option. Has it been great? No. Has it been good? Yes. Has it been below average at times? Yes. But there's been times where it's been good. And ultimately, I don't think Fleming is better at left tackle over Tyron Smith or right tackle over Lyle Collins. And I just am not comfortable constantly moving Collins back and forth. And I'd rather have Williams at guard, quite frankly. Romo looks like a coach in the Corona commercial. He does. That's about the only coaching experience that he has, by the way, Greg Zuniga. Marcos Cruz says hopefully Cooper will be the deep threat the Cowboys need to help open the running game. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not just deep, too, by the way. The thing is, Cooper at his best, and I will get into this because I do wonder what are the expectations for Amari Cooper, but first I kind of want to continue to discuss what the Cowboys, what issue you would work on next if you could. They've seemingly resolved the offensive line issue, wide receiver issue. So what would be next? Had thumbs up for. I know some people are like, well, Garrett should take over the play calling from Scott Linehan. I'm not a big fan of Jason Garrett. I'm not a big fan of Scott Linehan, but I think at this point that would probably do more harm than good. There's principles of Jason Garrett. There's principles of Scott Linehan. I don't think. This is the bed they made. I think when you sort of start to really mix a lot of different things up, middle of the season, you're probably doing more harm than good. And Jason Garrett hasn't called plays in a long time. So I just think that's I heard a lot of people say that, and I'd be surprised if it worked, I guess is the best way to say it. Brent Polar on the Dallas Cowboys Really Real fan page says hopefully a new quarterback. Look, I think at this point, I'm pretty sure that Dak's not the guy. Now, we're about to find out in the next few weeks how true that is because Amari Cooper's going to make a significant difference. But I also think, based on what we see from Dak, it might be good, but is it $100 million good? Is it give him franchise quarterback money good? That's the question that the Cowboys need to have answered. Go ahead, hit the share button if you have not already. I'm Ari Temkin. This is Phantom, where we put you at the center of the Dallas sports discussion. I am excited about the acquisition of Amari Cooper. I've said it again. I'll continue to say I would have taken a quarterback with the first round pick, but if the Cowboys don't like quarterbacks, then I'm fine with them trading it away and taking one in 2020. I still think you need to take a quarterback in the first round. Michael Goodburn says, let Jerry call the plays. That's actually a really good idea. I actually think he is calling the plays, Michael. Ray Pierce in the house. What up, Ray Pierce? Sean Henry, what's going on? Anybody over Linehan from Neil Favre? Ray Pierce says, not yet for Dak. G. Garcia says, okay, I'm back. What did I miss? I don't know. When did you leave? Eric Kashani says, I think it's a weapons problem. 70% of your roster didn't play here last year, so you can't use the whole playbook to start. Well, and just simplify it, Eric. It's a weapons problem. They had a bunch of twos, a bunch of twos and threes at the receiving position, in the receiving corps. And they said that was the way they designed their roster because that's the way they wanted their roster designed, and they were wrong. So, their receiving core, and we knew this in camp, they have depth there. They have a good receiving core. Issue is they didn't have a one. So Eric, you're absolutely right. It's a weapons problem. They never had a number one wide receiver, which obviously has dramatic impact for the rest of your roster, right? If Amari Cooper is a guy that creates separation and he's going wild against the secondary, now they've got to bring extra attention over to him. And so now Cole Beasley becomes so much more effective, and then I think we're going to see a lot more Michael Gallup. Gallup will be in the Terrence Williams spot, the Y spot. where when Dez was the X. So, I'm excited to see, I think that threesome right there, which I have said before, and I know I got some comments from people like, threesome, how about foursome? Cool. Cowboys don't go four wide. But I am very excited to see what that, Cooper at X, Beasley at Y, Gallup at Z, Gallup at Y, Cole Beasley at Z, thank you. Can you tell I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning? I'm really excited to see what that group looks like. So, look, and to answer my own question, now that receivers fixed, what's the next issue the Cowboys should address? I know I've said I wouldn't change anything on the offensive line, but I'm going to go ahead and contradict myself. If they play against the Titans and we're continuing to see the same issues, and I know some of the issues with sacks have been on Dak, but they're not fixing the quarterback issue this season. And quite frankly, they're probably not fixing it next season because unless they take quarterback in the second round. So, if these offensive line issues continue, then, you probably have to address them and do something about them. The other thing, too, is Francis Campos says, goodbye, you guys are not making sense. What is nonsensical about what I'm saying, Francis? Or is it you guys? It's probably everybody else. It can't be me. It can't be the person addressing this group. Of course not. Let's see here. Francis Campos says, I have been a fan since they started, and what I see, the coaches and JJ wants to put a Band-Aid on the problem by buying new players. What's the problem then, Francis? I think sometimes in a situation where it looks like you're so far away, what's amazing is, and this is true in business. They talk about this a lot in business. If you are doing a startup, it might look like, well, everything is off. Nothing looks right. And so you might think, well, you've got to drastically change things in order to make it look right when everything looks wrong. And sometimes it's just a little bit. The calibration's a little bit off. And all of a sudden now, the one slight recalibration does a whole difference. And that slight recalibration is Amari Cooper. Now, I'm not saying it's it's going to be enough to completely fix off their offense, but it certainly could, honestly. Because go look at their receivers. They were not creating any separation. So, when you have a guy that routinely creates separation off the line of scrimmage, now all of a sudden there's going to be a dramatic impact it's going to have on everybody else. Barry Conroy in the house. How's it going, Barry Conroy? Yeah, peace out, Francis. By the way, it was Francis with an E. Marcos Cruz says, wish the Cowboys would have kept Scarborough. He looked impressive. Disagreed. I'm like, where are you giving him snaps? You're going to give him snaps over Zeke? Is that what we're doing now? Not a fan of that. Rod Smith. I'd rather those snaps go to Rod Smith than Zeke. There just wasn't position for him. And by the way, I think he remains unsigned, although he might not. Ryan McBride says, Romo for OC on the Houston Cowboys page. Hey, everybody. Ryan McBride's late to the party. Anybody want to tell him about Romo as the OC? Should Romo be the offensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys? Something I probably haven't talked about much on this show. Ty Shelton says they still need to address the play calling. We need to adjust well into the fourth quarter while everything's on the line. Adjustments? You're going to have to start off with the coaching staff there, Ty. Ilya Churn says, Ari, what's good? Ilya, sir, how are you? Should have come out to Fort Worth last night. We had a bunch of G-Bag flags. Man, Fort Worth is far. It's funny, everybody's like, it's a separate city. And I'm like, well, Dallas has a bunch of separate cities. Plano, where I live, has 100,000 people in it. That's a separate city. But it was far. That's where I was last night with 105 through the fan. Michael Goodburn says, now they can open up the offense so all the weapons can be used. Been limited. Yeah. Ty Sheldon says, no to Romo. No. Thank you. Thank you. The Showtimes are the best. Bo's with the Jags. They've got TJ Yeldon and Bo Scarborough. They're only Derrick Henry and Mark Ingram away from being a full Alabama backfield. Ilya Trent says, I hope you grabbed one. Yeah, I did. I'll grab you one, buddy. They only bring a select. I have the people who go to those. Like I have to get one from the station. The problem is because they only bring like X amount out to each of these remotes, and like I mean they give them all away because so people want them. So Ruben Martinez in the house. Ruben Martinez can answer the question. Ruben, we've been asked by 3 different people at least if Romo should be the head coach or offensive coordinator of this team. Ruben, your answer? Ruben, you're the man. Let's see here. Joe Garcia says quick fix would be having Dak play the same way he utilized his feet against the Jags. Got to throw out that defense. Only way because they're not making any moves. I'm not rolling. They try to run Dak. It's not like they're like, hey, let's, like, the Jaguars game is the only game where they're like, Dak, you should run. Like, they didn't, like, wake up one day and were like, hey, let's, like, it comes down to Dak's ability to read a defense and understand what kind of a coverage he's seeing, and then understand if that's a coverage he can run against. I mean, they've tried to run every game. It's not like they're not trying to run Dak Prescott. They are. They're trying to run him every game. The issue is not every team is going to allow you the ability to do that. Now, it was shocking how bad the Jaguars defense was because they have a really good defense, but it was that bad. And, I mean, again, it's not like the difference in that game between other games was that Dak Prescott ran. They try to run him every game because they see the success they have with it. It's just an issue that sometimes teams don't allow them to do that. On the Dallas Cowboys report page, Eric Brown says, need a coach ASAP. William Rowe says, thumbs up, saying Garrett should take over the play calling. Albert Carrizosa says, I think it would take the Cowboys falling to the number 2 best sports franchise team and drop from ratings for Jerry to let his ego go and hire smarter people than his yes man. Jay Arrowwood says, too bad we can't sign Dez back to a 1-year deal and have him and Cooper on the field at the same time to sprinkle with Gallup. They signed Cooper. They traded for Cooper so that we no longer had to talk about Dez. Dez and Cooper wouldn't fit on the same field because Dez is an X, Cooper's an X. So, no. The thing you have to think about is receivers have different skill sets and therefore utilized within a scheme differently. So you've got Amari Cooper, who's your X, strong side, outside receiver. Your Y is your weak side receiver. That has been Terrence Williams. Now it'll be Michael Gallup. And then your Z is your slot receiver. That's Cole Beasley. And for the Cowboys scheme specifically, Dez wouldn't fit. And for 100 different reasons, they're not bringing back Dez. How did Adrian Peterson almost get 100 yards? Was it because Sean Lee took most of the snaps over LVE? No. I mean, he had 99 yards, so he didn't quite have 100, Adrian Peterson. But, I mean, because that's what the Redskins are trying to do offensively. Like they're trying to, they use the short pass to set up the run. So, I mean, I think they lured the linebackers into different coverages and then ran on different, those kinds of different coverages. Ruben Martinez says, in my opinion, the next issue is winning, making playoffs, winning Super Bowl, LOL. Is that too much to ask for? Well, it's been over 2 decades since they played for an NFC championship. The Cowboys, Redskins, and Lions are the only 3 teams in the NFL that have not played for an NFC East championship in 2 decades. So, Ruben, you're not asking for too much, but I think at this point, how about an NFC championship appearance? Jay Arrowwood says, you're nuts. Dez can play any position if he's willing to accept the role. No, he can't. I mean, he can't. He doesn't know all the routes. I'm not trying to knock on Dez, but he couldn't play for the Patriots. I mean, he's a good player and was a good receiver, but no, he can't run. He can't play in every position. Steve Easton says, how long until we hear Dez for wide receiver coach talk? Let's move along. Dez isn't returning and Romo isn't coaching. Well, Steve, you brought it up. Anybody want Dez to come back to be the receivers coach? 2 decades is sad. It is very sad. And I think you look at the 2 decades. you have two separate issues, right? So everybody that complains about Jerry Jones now, they're living in the last decade. Like, sorry, but that's the truth. Like, and I've talked about this a lot. The Jerry Jones of like 10, 15, 20 years ago, like that's the one that was a bad owner and a bad GM and made bad decisions and didn't draft well and spent a bunch of money and went way over the cap and traded 2 first-round picks for Roy Williams and then gave Roy Williams a boatload of cash and gave Miles. Like, that's the Jerry Jones that everybody hates. Now, people will say now, well, they need to get rid of that Jerry Jones. But, like, that Jerry Jones is gone. So the problem they had in the first 10 years of the 20 years span we're talking about here, that was a separate issue. Now, the issue this last decade has been, well, they've only drafted. They have not gone any time in free agency in any capacity to try to fix the issues. Now, that has changed now, seemingly, because they are finally, after this season, out of the cap issues that plagued them for the last decade. Even that, I think, was a little bit overplayed. But, like, you just can't build your team to win a championship exclusively through the draft. It's where you build your core. You have to build your core that way, which is why the Cowboys are the first part of the last 2 decades, the last 10 years, which is why they struggled so much, because they drafted horribly. And so they only went in free agency, and now they've overcorrected. Now they only draft, and they draft well. They've drafted exceedingly well. But they're not supplementing the areas where they failed in the draft through free agency. All right, let's get on to the second topic, which is, all right, so Amari Cooper, we'll see him presumably a week from Monday night in his Cowboys opener. The reason I say presumably would be because he did suffer a concussion in the last game he played for Oakland. Again, I'm sure he'll be fine and ready to go, but once you're in concussion protocol, who knows? Dean Cruisinger says, please be done with the Dez talk. He had hands of stone. He usually doesn't even show up on game day. Hashtag no tan 88. Not an 88. Oh, hashtag not an 88. Sure. Steve Eason says, gotta go Cowboys. Wait, Steve, don't go. Romo is the head coach. Dez is coming back. What other stuff do we want to talk about? Just kidding. Christopher Tingler says, let's get Dez back. Hire Tony Romo for head coach. There. Christopher Tingler said it better than I could have said it to Steve Eason. Neil Favre says 50-plus receptions seems reasonable. Patrick Hahn, good point. He's practicing, so he's out of protocol. Good point. By the way, did anybody else see the hit that he took that got the concussion? That was a ridiculously vicious hit. Like, I watched that, and I'm not like a, I'm not a very sensitive person when it comes to hits, but that one was like, it made you woozy just watching it. Ninja Nut says this was not my fault this time. Yes, it was. I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, it's definitely your fault, Ninja Nuts. All right, let's see here. Going back over to YouTube real quick. Anthony Lovell says Dez is not Larry Fitzgerald. That is a factually accurate thing to say. Stevie Mack says luck sucks. Losing a first-round pick with the Amari trade is great just because this will finally answer the questions we have with Dak and Linehan. It's now or never. No more excuses. And Garrett. And yes, I agree. My Cowboys family says O-line coach is still up for question. LOL, the loss of Frederick gives him some leeway. Sure. What else? Okay, so that's the next question, which is what are your expectations for Amari Cooper? So Amari Cooper's here. So the Cowboys practiced this week. So he was in on practices this week. Dak is staying here and not going on vacation to work with Amari Cooper. Like, I don't really ever think that's like I know a lot of people are always like talking about that. Like, oh, they're working together on Saturdays. Like, I don't think that makes a difference. I don't know. Maybe it does. But, like, what are the expectations for what this guy can do right off the bat, considering, he's going to be very new within this offense. So if you do the math, they have nine games left. So 80 catches over 9 games for Amari Cooper would be about 9 receptions a game. 8.889. So I put the number there thinking like, oh, okay, that's, if they feature him every game, get him 9 receptions a game, that's a lot. It's a lot of receptions. You hope he'd have 9 targets a game, but he's not going to catch everything. But so that's the question, right? Like, is he going to be Is he going to go in there and be 80% of the receptions? Or do you think 50 is probably a better number? 50 would be just over 5 receptions per game, 5.56. Is your expectations there, or do you think it'd be less? Tell me what you think. What are your expectations for Amari Cooper? Thumbs up emoji if you think he could get around 9 receptions per game for the rest of the year. Heart emoji if you think is reasonable to think he could get between 5 and 6 receptions per game for the rest of the year, or less than 5 to 6, and it's going to take some time for him to be acclimated. Because, I mean, I think the 50 receptions is due, and I'm talking about not on the season. I'm not talking about 50 total receptions. I'm just talking about in the last 9 games, as with the Cowboys. Carol Christensen wants the Cowboys to watch Texans film. That's how it's done. See that coach. Not a big Bill O'Brien fan, but that might be just me. Jordan Hollingsworth says 6. What? Gerard Towler says 50 plus receptions. Patrick Kahn says I think 7 a game is attainable. If he was able to get 7 receptions per game for the rest of the year for the Cowboys, that would be best case scenario to me. 7 or even if he got 50 receptions to the Cowboys, like that's. I mean, considering they probably haven't had any receiver over the course of this season have, like, I think Beasley in the Jaguars game was by far, like, had the most receptions for any single receiver in a game. Corey Miller in the house. I had to stop myself from calling him Cody Miller. That's obviously not his name. It's C-O-R-Y, meaning Corey. Sorry I'm late. Hey, Cowboys Nation. What up, Corey? Marcos Cruz says, be a playmaker, Mr. Cooper. Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Yeah, Patrick Kahn. Bob is Garrett in Houston. Agreed. Tyler Cutright says, home 9 a game, away 2 a game. Look, I think 50-plus receptions for Amari Cooper is a reasonable goal. And I think like that would be a pretty good situation for him to get that many receptions. Because I think if that's the case, then they're obviously, then they're obviously making a concerted effort to get him the ball. And I think like they're going to have a really good passing game. Like the more receptions he has, the more you think that Cole Beasley's getting involved and other receivers too. So, no, I think if the number is between, 50 receptions over 9 games, it'd be between 5 and 6, basically 5.5, 5.5 per game. I mean, that's a pretty good number. Anything less than that, then he's probably not making as much of an impact as he needs to be. And now look, he's had multiple games this year with only 1 or 2 receptions, but I also think like part of Oakland's design was kind of what the Cowboys wanted to do this year, which is like not have a number 1, which is weird when you actually have a number 1 in your Oakland. But that's beside the point, I guess. Corey Miller says, you to man, Ari? Sir, thank you. Ray Pierce says, will Cooper become Megatron for us, or is that Linehan's pipe dream? I mean, of course, that's what Linehan is going to say. Megatron, like that. Let's just not do that. Let's just go ahead and not do that. Megatron was ridiculous. I think Amari Cooper has the potential to be one of the 5 best receivers in the game of football. Has the potential. Corey Miller says, with his ability to break ankles, I think Dak might have an easier time to get the ball out. Yeah. And hopefully you all watched my Amari Cooper film breakdown. But the number one thing that I focused on in that film breakdown was his ability to create separation, which, and my buddy Patrick Kahn has the stats, but he creates, I think, 3.8 yards of separation. Is that right, Patrick? 3.8 yards of separation. Whereas Cole Beasley is the best at creating separation, and it was like around a yard of separation. So you don't have to know what those metrics mean other than like, if you create 4 yards of separation, that's pretty impressive. I mean, that's wide open. I mean, no one around you within a 4-yard radius, that's pretty open. And that's his best skill set, Amari Cooper's, is separation. So I think given the circumstance, with the Cowboys unable to find receivers to create separation, that this is the best sort of guy they could have acquired. Albert Carzosa says 4 touchdowns, 550 yards. My prediction because of playbook knowledge, Dak chemistry, and with defenses respecting him, and even more with run healthy offense. What's weird is, I think we all have reasonable expectations, which is nice. I mean, I was hoping people wouldn't say like, 10 receptions a game and 100 yards a game, and it's like, I do think it's going to take some time. Now, if it doesn't, then obviously, the Cowboys' offense is going to be pretty good, but I do think it will take time. Now I would think they're going to force him the ball, because I think it'll open up Zeke, and I also think it's important. Beasley's 2.5. Thank you to Patrick Kahn. I also think it's important to note that usage of play action in the NFL is really, really good. The old adage is, you have to run the ball effectively in order to set up play action, and that's not true, which is interesting. You don't have to run the ball at all in order to set up play action, and it's just based on, defenses aren't. If you're running the ball effectively and you use play action, and if you're not running the ball at all and using play action, defenses still aren't going to play you differently. They're still going to react to different cues, and whatever it is, you look at the analytics on successful plays off the play action. There's no correlation between the rate of success and and your ability to run the football effectively. And that's an area where I'd really like to see the Cowboys use more of. We've seen it a little bit throughout the course of a few games, but it really helps to open it up. So I think, first off, Amari Cooper will help to soften the box a little bit and create some opportunities there for Zeke, and then I also think they should use a lot more play action. All right, what else do you guys have as we move on to the end of today's stream? By the way, I'm Ari Temkin. This is Phantom, where we put you at the center of the Dallas sports discussion. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of the show today. I'm here every day at 12 noon, pontificating, discussing, interacting, talking. There are a lot of familiar faces that are show-timers that stream this show every single day, and this show wouldn't exist without you guys. So if this is your first time, thanks for checking us out. Hopefully you'll come back on Monday. And of course, for those like Brian Walker and Ninja Nuts and Ray Pierce and Neil Favre and Patrick Kahn and Corey Miller and Tyler Cutright and Joe Tranchina and Steve Eason and Patrick Prescott and Albert Carzosa, and you guys make this show what it is. So thank you guys for being here every single day. Because, again, this show doesn't exist without you. Albert Carzosa says, Ari, thanks for the updates. Enjoy your Friday, Weed and Boys. Absolutely. You guys, everybody enjoy the bye week. Bye week came at a perfect time for the Cowboys. One, because they've gotten Amari Cooper now, so it gives them some time to get him acclimated. But that was not a coincidence. That was obviously by design. But the other thing is, too, you think about it, it's smack dab right in the middle of the season. Which, they're fortunate. They played 7 games, so it was a game off, right? Like, if they had played 8, it would have been exact middle point of the season. But I still think it's close enough to the middle that it's pretty it's a good point for them to be hitting the bye. And then of course you come out and you come out and Dakota Stiegel and this guy still, and Dakota Stiegel, he's a showtimer, and I feel like, Dakota, your commenting diminishes. So the problem is, when I'm looking for the people to make reference to, I go back, but it only allows me to scroll back so far. And if you haven't commented within the span of me, I'll just remember you. How about that? Dakota Stiegel, he's here every day. He's the man. So thank you. And Ruben Martinez. Don't forget the man, Ruben Martinez. Hell yeah. Thank you. And Patrick Kahn's separation is based on technique and innate ability. Yes. It's not just technique. You also have to be physically gifted in order to be able to create separation. Jason Turner says, any news on Tavon? They haven't put him on short-term IR. I wonder why they haven't. I would expect if he's back, he'd be back in December, but we'll see. Gerard Towler says, you're amazing, Ari. You tell it how it is. I appreciate you saying that, brother. Thank you. Help me spread the gospel. Tell people about the show. Invite your friends. Tag them. Share the bleep out of this show. However we can grow this community, this audience, because that's what this is. This is, in media, we think of the audience, but in this case, it's a community. I mean, we are people that are constantly interacting every single day with each other. I talked to Ray Pierce and Joe Tranchina and Neil Favre and Gerard Towler and Jason. I talk to you guys every day, whether or not we talk verbally or just through this show. And that's what this thing is. We are a Cowboys community. We convene every day for our community at 12 o'clock Central Time. Victorious Renz says, just hope Prescott lets it fly down the field to Cooper that to free up Zeke and short passes to Beasley. Offense should be a lot better. Yes. Yeah, Patrick Kahn says, at this point, short term, his season is essentially over. Good point. Vincent Kaczynski? How do I say your last name, Vincent? Any word on the safety Obi they brought in for a workout? Obi-Wan Kenobi. Well, they haven't signed him. I'll mention it again. He is a physical freak. He can't play football. He was a second-round pick. It kind of should tell you a lot that he, 6'4", 225 pounds, ran like a 4.5. I mean, that's interesting. Could that really be my phone calling me? At any rate, I mean, he ran a ridiculous. He's a combine warrior, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the fact that he was a second-round pick probably should tell you that, how could that, based on a 6'4" corner is a second-round pick? So he just can't play football. Although that to me that doesn't still go sign him. There's very little risk involved there, but they haven't yet or already. Corey Miller says, it's truly the most unique show I watch online as far as sports talk. Feels like we're chilling in the living room with you. That's why I shared on my page, Houston Cowboys. Man, thank you. And that's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be just us hanging out and shooting the breeze. And that's the community here. And so I thank you. And yeah, if you guys don't already, make sure to go over to the Houston Cowboys page and go like the page. You don't have to be from Houston to like it. He's meeting with New England. And watch, he'll go to New England. And that was the other thing, too, is he was kind of a corner that they played at safety. Bill Belichick will sign him. Everybody will say it's the most genius move ever, and he'll be an all-pro. I don't know. All right, so again, thanks everybody for being a part of today's show. If you have not yet already, go check out the Cowboys Beat. The Cowboys Beat is released every single day at 5 o'clock in the morning, every Friday, every single Friday, not every day. Every Friday at 5 o'clock in the morning. So myself, Patrick Kahn, it's Cowboys Beat with it's Ari and Kahn. Maybe we'll come up with a better name. But go check it out. Of course, I'm back on Monday, where we will be back in a game week after this dreaded bye. Enjoy your weekend without the Cowboys to stress you out. I'll be back Monday. Peace out, everybody. Love you all. Thank you.